Welcome, LA Progressive friends and family. Last night, Dick and I attended the Death Penalty Focus annual dinner. Mike Farrell is the president of Death Penalty Focus, and Sherry Frumkin is the chair of the board of directors. And they just put on a wonderful program. It's hard to believe that something, a topic that is so heavy could result in having so many people there talking about positive things. And we met a gentleman named Herman Lindsey last night, who is the executive director to Witness to Innocence. And I wanted Herman to talk to the LA Progressive community about himself and about his organization. So Herman, tell us who you are and how you came to be involved in Witness to Innocence.
Was 23rd Death Row Exonerate. Florida leads the nation with 30. I'm number 23. How I came about with innocent when I came home, I never got compensation or anything like that. Witness Innocent stepped out to me and they brought me into their like what I like to call their home. What happened was that uh, most of the time when we be released from and exonerated, we have nowhere to turn. If we don't have family members or something, we have nowhere to turn. Witness Instant gave me that opportunity to make an income by speaking events, giving me honoraries to speaking events. And they have a program called the Emergency Funds, which allows us to access up to $1,500 a year and for important situations like the lights. So in 2009, when I was released, I didn't want to speak to anyone. I just wanted to isolate myself. But after I started speaking with Witness Innocent, I realized a lot of people really don't know about the dangers of being wrongfully convicted. And so I decided to take on the role of making a dedicated passion to actually go speak out.
Thank you so much, Herman, for doing that, because you're right. Um, I don't know if I would know had it not been for the LA Progressive and the work that we do with the LA Progressive. I probably wouldn't know that so many people and the Department of Justice has put out statistics where um, they say they approximate about 10% of the people who are currently um, not just on death row, but just throughout the mass incarceration system, about 10% are innocent. And I think that's probably conservative because it is coming from the Department of Justice. So this is a known factor that people are regularly wrongfully convicted, and some of them are lucky and are exonerees, and some are still in, and many are still in, maybe most are still in. So I think the thing that was most shocking to me is what you said, that you come out and you have nowhere to go. You obviously have no money. You have nothing saved up. You've been in prison wrongfully. You did nothing wrong. And now you come out and a big chunk of your life is missing. You don't have a resume. You have no work history. You have nothing.
But the hardest part of that is that when you come out and they put you out with nothing, the hard part about that is that when you try to go find a job or go try to find a place to rent, is like they run a background check and that murder charge stays on your record. I mean, I fought for 40 years to get it off the record to make it reflect as not guilty. But you're judged by that. Still, some people like, well, you was arrested for murder, and they don't go down into the details. It's like a real struggle. Even today, like I'm back and forth with realtors right now trying to find apartment to lease the rent because my lease was up on my last apartment, and I moved from Deltona back to Broward. But it's like I can send the paperwork in, and they still deny me.
Oh my gosh. And we know this now. I'm looking at your website, witnesstoinnocence.org, and some of the facts. And it says the statistics tell the story. Since the death penalty was reinstated in 1976, over 190 people from 28 states have been exonerated and freed from death row. On average, an exonerated death row survivor spends 11 and a half years behind bars for crimes they did not commit. For every 8 prisoners executed, 1 innocent person was condemned to die and later exonerated. At least 4.1% of defendants sentenced to death in the United States are innocent. And this is a statement that is on the Witness to Innocence website. So tell us again. So you're currently trying to get your record expunged? Would that be the accurate term?
Expungement is only if you was convicted of it. They won't see our system wasn't designed for exoneration. So we don't have the exonerees don't have the benefit of people that has been convicted of a felony. They have more resources than we do. And that's why we established Sister Helen and Ray Crone established Witness to Innocence to have an environment that helps us exonerees. So in other words, we cleaning up and helping the state mess.
So okay, so I want to restate this because I want to make sure that the LA progressive community understands this. He cannot have his record expunged because he was exonerated. It was made clear that he was wrongfully convicted, had nothing to do with the crime. So he was exonerated, but expungement is a legal tool that is only used for when someone is rightfully convicted of, of committing a crime that they actually committed. But if you didn't actually commit the crime and you're exonerated, now you're left with this blemish on your record, which affects every area of your life, your ability to get a job, your ability to find a home or to rent an apartment, or I'm sure that, Michelle Alexander gives a list of hundreds of things that you can't do if you have something like that on your record.
That's correct. So I mean, our system isn't designed for exonerations. Like they say, our system is designed for um, the state getting it wrong. And then the sad part about it is that most states, for Florida, to see compensation, I would have to go back to the trial courts, prove my innocence. I would have to have a clean record. If you've been convicted of a prior felony, unrelated, years before you got wrongfully convicted, you don't qualify for the compensation.
So no compensation. Now in California, we had last night, Frankie Carrillo was there. And I believe that you and Frankie know each other.
Yes.
So Frankie was able to sue the state of California. And Frankie has done okay. Sadly, he spent 20 years of his life. Now he's running for state assembly. And actually, I live in the district where Frankie is running to be the assembly representative. So that's pretty exciting and very inspirational. But Florida is a whole different kind of issue going on in Florida.
Correct. Correct. Is I really don't even understand it, because it's very hurtful to even talk about the subject of how Florida do uh, exonerees. It's been 30 death row exonerees in the state of Florida. Only 4 received compensation. Only 4 was able to sue. Majority of us wasn't able to sue.
So one area of frustration for me, being the publisher of the LA Progressive, which is we publish every single day. And I can look at the analytics, which shows me demographics, who reads the LA Progressive. And sadly for me, most of the people who read the LA Progressive are people who are not impacted by these statistics. So Black and brown people don't represent the majority of my readership. And we are often talking in the LA Progressive about policies that have a disproportionate harmful impact on Black and brown people. Have you found that in telling your story, that your story resonates with Black and brown people?
I'm gonna say this about that is years ago, the reason I want to say it like this is because I have to give those that the changes have come about credit. I don't like to just point the finger. If we was talking 10, 15 years ago in Florida, yes, definitely racist, but things have changed. We have prosecutors, attorneys that are trying to do the best thing they can do as fairness. We have judges back then that was trying to give out to see had a bet to see who can give the most years. And My particular case, the Florida Supreme Court was outraged about because uh, my judge allowed a lot of things to happen to me that it was clearly a violation. For instance, my case was based on the statement of a person who was the prime suspect in the case. He was a key evidence for the state, saying that I was in the holding cell with him and I confessed to him that I committed the crime. Now, after I was arrested and I went through the discovery and all the statements, there was actually, first of all, that the robbery murder happened in 1994. I was arrested 12 years later in 2006. And when I went through the discovery and everything, we found a statement from a guy named um, Eddie Carter, who was actually uh, one of Mark Sims' homeboys, the guy that testified against me. And in that statement in 1994, he had told the police that Mark Sims was running around bragging that he killed this lady in this instant case. For 12 years, every time they went to him, they he said he know nothing about the crime. When the original detective who was handling the case retired and the new detective took over, all of a sudden, Mark gave a statement saying that I was in the holding cell and I confessed to him. Well, after I was found guilty, they ended up putting me and Mark Sims in a holding cell together, around 35 other inmates. And when the officers caught it, because we had a couple keep separate, they caught it within a minute and they came in. They allowed us to finish talking because me and him had started talking. And we had 35 inmates, four officers witnessed him telling me that he don't even know me. He never had this conversation with me. He was just trying to do it to get his time cut off, and the detectives basically was telling him what to say. And we took this to the judge. All 35 inmates came in that same night and testified, and the officers testified. And the judge still refused to overturn my conviction and give me a new trial or grant me a JOA. So the Supreme Court made my case the first case in history where all seven judges ruled that I should have never even been convicted. And one of the things they was outraged was that the fact that this judge allowed a statement of a person who has great interest in the case and possibly involved in the case stand higher than someone sworn by the law, which was those officers that verified that he said he didn't know me and that I never made that statement to. And I think the Florida Supreme Court was outraged with that. In fact, that judge is no longer on the bench. And I think that racism played a part because after I was convicted, I also found out through the penalty and during the penalty phase, my auntie came to testify on my behalf how I was when I was growing up, and she noticed the foreman of of the jury, and that foreman had got um, fired, recently got fired from Wachovia Bank, which is now Wells Fargo, for making racist statements.
And she knew
So,
him.
and she knew him. She told my lawyer that, and we reported that to the judge, but they still let things go.
Wow, wow. So, so you're here. So you live in Florida, is that
Yes,
right? And you're
yes,
here. Are you here in California? Because we're both having this conversation. I'm in Los Angeles, and we were with each other earlier today and also last night. Are you here because of the death penalty focus dinner?
yes. I was here because of the dinner. But in my role, I travel um, throughout the United States and sometimes international, dealing with legislation, dealing with speaking events, and supporting other organizations that's doing these same fight.
Do you have a sense of how many people um, are in the situation that you were in?
You talking about as far as released, or we talking about in the
Either
system?
if you have any number.
And I, it's hard to say a number because one of the things is I try to keep an open minded when dealing with policies and things. A lot of people will say they're innocent, they're not innocent during the time, but I do believe that we have more innocent people in every state involved and trapped up in this mass incarceration because mass incarceration is a business now, isn't it? I was reading something in the Wikipedia about when justice first was formed. When justice was first formed back in the 1800s and stuff, justice was the punishment was only to shame them in front of the society so that would want them to rehabilitate. Now it has became into an industry, and they don't care about who they made a number. And I have officers that have said to me, "What's the difference? But what do a cow and an inmate has in common?" And one thing about that they have in common is they allow a fence to keep them in.
Well, Herman, I'm so happy that you were exonerated. I'm glad that you are a spokesperson on behalf of so many other people that continue to be wrongfully incarcerated. And I hope that the work of Witness to Innocence and Death Penalty Focus and all of the other nonprofits that are working so hard. Earlier today, we watched a film about, for those of you who don't know, Guantanamo is still open, and there are 30 detainees that have been there for decades, 16 of which have already been told that they're free to leave, but they have no place to go because they are not allowed. There are 3 countries that they are not allowed to go to. And so those 3 countries happen to be the countries where they originate from. And so they have no place to go, and they continue to stay at Guantanamo. But Herman Lindsey, the work that you're doing is, and it's God's work, really. And I'm so happy that you're doing it. I want to encourage people to visit witnesstoinnocence.org to please make a donation. And we'll stay in touch, Herman. Hopefully we'll touch base again. I understand that there was a major victory in California with the ACLU in
Yes.
California. So do you want to say anything about that?
Well, I'll let you explain it, about the petition, the lawsuit.
Okay, well,
It's
I'm gonna put some information up, some graphics up about that, and I'll keep the readers informed as we continue to try to get rid of the death penalty in the United States. We got a long way to go. About half of the states still are using the death penalty as a form of punishment. But we're making progress, thanks to Herman
I'm,
and people like him.
and I don't understand how watching this movie today with you, Godmother, uh, it I was getting emotional because I felt myself there, felt what he was going through, and I don't understand how, and it formed around United States breaking policies or whatever to reach out and get what they want. And that is identical what some state attorneys and police officers are doing right here today. And
That's
I'm
right.
learning that that concept, which majority of them are from the military, majority of them has done military time. And it's like, it was, uh, it's rooted up from our military to our justice system, two
Yeah,
different
yeah.
parts.
It's the reason that I went to law school, because I had a dear friend who was sentenced to 27 years for crack cocaine. He ended up dying in prison, but I eventually I went to law school to try to understand how is it that I wouldn't say that in his case there was prosecutorial misconduct, which is what you're describing, but there's such huge disparities between sentencing for crack cocaine and powder cocaine. And I mean, the amount that he was arrested with would fit on the tip of my pinky finger, and he got 27 years because he refused to cop a plea. He wanted to have a jury trial, and they told him not to, and that they were going to throw the book at him, and that's exactly what they did. Many people have a lot of confidence in our legal system, and I'm here to tell you that we really should not have confidence. We we need to take action against these prosecutors who are wrong. So when we have district attorneys like George Gascon and Larry Kramer in Philadelphia, we have to support those kinds of attorneys and district attorneys, because there really is a tremendous amount of prosecutorial misconduct that just goes unreported, unaddressed, and they get away with it. And that's kind of what is happening right now all over the country, but certainly it was happening in Guantanamo prison. So, well, Herman, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to staying in touch and finding out what happens, and we want to encourage the LA Progressive community to donate to Witness to Innocence. Thank you for sticking around. If you like the LA Progressive content and the discussions we have here, please consider clicking the subscribe button below, and also give us a thumbs up. That helps to grow our audience by feeding the algorithm, which helps to get this content in front of more eyes. Thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate your support.